Hey guys, I'm just recording a video here to just let you know that I'm going to be starting to record again my various videos. The reason I stopped in the first place, for those of you that don't know, reason that videos stopped coming out around the very end of November, very beginning of December, was because I believe I was starting to get burnt out. The commentary on the last few videos I put out was getting really difficult to keep up the quality that I would want to provide. And I eventually just decided that between that, the dip in quality, and the fact that I had a lot of other things occupying my time that were just making it really hard for me to focus on doing videos, I decided that just for the holiday month of December, I was just going to take the month off, focus on getting some things done that I personally wanted to devote some attention to, and just generally rethinking the whole process of how I wanted to approach making videos. And I think the main thing that I heard from a lot of people was that I was putting out so many videos that they really couldn't keep up. So I think one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to scale back the number of videos I'm putting out on a weekly basis. I was putting out a video a day at minimum. Sometimes I was doing even more than that. So I think what I'm probably going to do is, for the Let's Plays, I'm going to try and scale those back to where I'm putting out one episode of each game I'm doing a week. And I think that will be a lot more manageable both for me and for the people watching, allowing them to keep up a lot better. I may change that, since I do kind of want to look at the prospect of seeing if I can start to make more money off of the content creation. So I may scale that up again if that starts to take off. But for now, if I'm just doing it to practice doing it and to give my friends some entertainment, then I think I can just scale it back a lot more and make a lot fewer videos. I have a pretty good backlog of stuff to show off if, I want people to take a look at what I've got. So I think a much more gradual release schedule is a good idea. Another thing that I wanted to announce is that I'm going to look at starting to stream on Twitch, because I believe I now have the necessary hardware to do so. Before, I did not. I had a lot of issues in terms of my sound recording. Essentially, the reason that I wasn't able to stream on Twitch was because my sound hardware, what I was using to record, the headset, had an issue with volume that was very difficult to resolve. And the way that I ended up having to do it was I recorded my audio in a program called Audacity, which is basically free audio editing software. And what I had to do was I had to do a big mic boost using the Windows software for recording. I believe I had to set it up for like a 20-30 decibel boost. And what that would do is, as a result of that, my sound in the recording would come out with this very pronounced hissing sound. So in order to get rid of that, I had to take the sound in Audacity and do noise removal, which for the most part kept that under control. And once I had processed things through Audacity, the sound did come out much cleaner. But the problem with that is that in the software you have to use to stream over onto Twitch, you can't really do that because it's live. So I wasn't really able to stream to Twitch, because if I didn't use that decibel boosting, my microphone was going to be too quiet. But now that's not a problem anymore, because if you might have noticed this little plastic thing in the corner of my webcam, Now, I have a microphone, a real one. My microphone is a real boy. And that is courtesy of my girlfriend, Lisa. So thank you for that, Lisa. Thank you very much. This is a Blue Yeti microphone. It's a USB microphone, and a lot of the YouTubers and Let's Players who I follow pretty much universally regard this as a very good, affordable microphone for more professional sounding recording. So I went for this one, and it's worked out pretty well so far. For those of you who might not be familiar with audio stuff, this thing right here, the plastic thing that you're seeing, is a pop filter, which helps to clean up the audio, particularly when it comes to the plosives, which are things like p, b, and so on. Whenever you make that sound, it becomes a bit more pronounced on the microphone, so it cleans those up. So this is a bit more of a professional setup now, which I'm actually kind of proud of. But now that I have this, I don't have to do the decibel boosting anymore, because this has more than enough tools, and I'm sure I've, in all the touching it that I've done, the sound is going to sound god-awful. But moving on. Now that I have this, I don't have to do the decibel boosting anymore, because this has several features and tools which allow me to adjust the sound, and it really doesn't give me the problems that I was having. Another thing that you might notice is that, and this isn't an upgrade in any sense of the word, I just want to explain this. You might notice that half of the side of my face looks like the sun is just off frame over here. That's because it kind of is. I've had some issues with my desk lamps. Two of them, the last two desk lamps I had were they're all I'm trying to think of how to describe it. They're all those dome flashlights, desk lamps. They're all those dome type desk lamps that have the sort of stretchy necks that you can crane around. And the last two that I had this switch on the back, which is kind of like a semicircle, like it's sort of like a dome itself, and you have to turn the switch to turn it on and off. Well, the last two lamps I had like that, the switch broke, and it got to the point where I couldn't turn them on or off anymore. So what I've ended up getting is I've gotten a lamp similar to that, but this one just has like a knob switch on the back, so it's much easier to deal with. Now this one, you do still turn it. What I was kind of hoping to find was one where you just push the switch in and out, because I feel like that's going to be less likely to break. But, you got to work with what you found. And the problem with this lamp is that it's actually translucent for part of the dome rather than opaque like the previous ones I had were. So the light is showing through the dome at my face. I actually had to turn the lamp earlier in the video. When I started recording the first time. I believe this is going to be cut out. I actually can't remember now, which kind of says, really tells you how bad my memory is nowadays. But I actually had to turn the lamp off to the side as far as I could get it to keep there from just being this glowing orb of light in the corner. Because even though it wasn't in frame at all, it was still there was still just nothing but light, like right about here. So if it seems like there is a very large light source over to this side of the screen, that's why. It's because of that new mic. Or new desk lamp. Anyway, moving on. So that's the two things I'm looking at. Is I'm going to go back to recording, but I'm going to do it at a much slower pace, at least to start out. I'm also going to do the Dungeon Master's Guide, because I have that now and I've given it a read. And I will save my full thoughts for the video, but in summation, after reading that book, I am very excited to get a chance to play. I am very excited to get a chance to DM a 5th edition campaign, because they cover everything in that book. They have, if it's something you need to run a game, they have some sort of rule on it. And they most likely have a randomization table in the event that you can't think of anything or don't have the time to think of anything to come up with on your own. You can just roll off and randomize it. So I've found that really, really useful, and I am really excited to run a campaign in that particular setting with that particular rule system. But I'll be putting out a video about that probably next week sometime, which is probably also when you will see the the Let's Play videos starting to return. I figure I'll just give December the last couple days here, and then early January I'll start putting videos out again and see how that goes. Trying to think if there's anything else I should cover. There was one other thing I did want to talk about. I also wanted to discuss, being that this is the end of the year, this isn't very much of a formal thing, but I just wanted to kind of go over the games that I've enjoyed the most this year. Just kind of have a little discussion about that with you guys, because that's a lot of people do that kind of thing around this time of year, and I always kind of get into that myself. So I figured, since I'm making this little announcement video, I might as well just throw in a few words about that as well. Unfortunately, I didn't play all that many new games this year. A lot of the stuff I was playing was from previous years or something like that. So there's really only a few I have in mind as being games that are really like in my... I don't even think I could put together a top 10, let alone a top 5. Or I don't even think I could put together a top 5, let alone a top 10. That's the way that sentence should go. So about the best I could really give you is a top 3. And I would say that probably my top 3 games for this year would be... And see, the third one is the hardest one. I know what 1 and 2 are, but it's sort of difficult for me to come up with the third one, even just because I played so few games this year. I would say that the third game is probably actually Dark Souls 2. It was certainly different than a lot of the games that I tend to play. I lately seem to find myself playing a lot more strategy type games than anything else, but Dark Souls 2, even though it was very challenging, it was a very enjoyable experience, especially once you started to kind of learn how to play whatever playstyle you ended up going with, which in my case, I ended up playing a very dex-focused twin scimitar character, twin curved swords. And pretty much the whole idea there was just you dual-wield everybody and you roll around a lot. Like, by the time that I was really starting to roll through stuff, no pun intended, my dodge skill, which I believe is avoidance or whatever that is, my dodge skill was pretty insane. I was just rolling around all over the place, avoiding everything. And I went very light armor. I didn't go with the very heavy armor builds, which sort of limit your rolls. So when I got hit, I was in trouble. But I was a very agile character, because I always seem to like those types of characters. Except in, interestingly enough, tabletop games, where pretty much every time in recent memory I've been a player in a game, I have been the tanky bruiser type. I haven't really gotten to play the roguish dart in and cut them up type. So I don't know how that's been happening. I think it's just because everybody else takes those characters, and I'm the guy who wants the party to be well rounded. So I look at what everybody else has made, or what I expect them to make if I don't know, and I'm just like, okay. we're going to die if we don't have somebody to take damage. And then that's how I've ended up in the situation that I've ended up in both times. But moving on. So I'd say Dark Souls is probably the third best I've played this year. After that, now I do have to preface this by saying that I have not finished this game yet. I'm still working my way through it. But I would say that my second favorite game of this year, of 2014, has been Alien Isolation. Now, initially I was not all that impressed with it. It's been visually impressive from the very start. The graphics make it straight up look like you are dealing with actors, which is just outstanding. But initially, when you're not dealing with the alien, it can be somewhat frustrating. I remember a part, especially near the beginning, where it's kind of one of the first times where I believe you're on your own and there are people looking for you, like they're hunting you. And you had to do it a certain way, and if you did it that certain way, it was easy. But if you didn't, you got caught every time. And that proved to be very frustrating because when it comes to stealth games, which is very much what Alien Isolation is, I haven't fought anybody, with the exception of things that you are forced to fight. But in stealth games, I like games that give you more than one option to avoid your problems, which I feel like that's kind of a universal feature at this point. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm not all that familiar with stealth games personally. For reference, my favorite stealth game is Deus Ex Human Revolution. So that kind of gives you an idea of my experience in that genre, because there's some pretty classic games there that I haven't really touched. In particular, I think one of the series, and I don't even know if this is a stealth game, that tells you how little I know about it. I play almost no Assassin's Creed because, to be completely honest, every time I've tried to play that series, I have hated it. That is, I think everybody kind of has that one major flagship modern series of games, at least one, that they really don't like. For me, it's Assassin's Creed. I hate the Assassin's Creed series, and I will never play it. No matter how well it gets recommended. I was tested a little bit when everybody was talking up Assassin's Creed 3, I think, Black Flag, like it was the best game ever. But I stuck to my guns, didn't play it, and I feel no cheaper for having done so. And I feel a lot better about that choice when, you're hearing the things about Assassin's Creed Unity that they basically released a game where people's skin textures randomly disappear. That was a great idea, by the way. But getting back to the main topic, I'd say Alien Isolation, once you got to the part where the alien first started just straight up hunting you, then that's when I really think the game, grabbed the brass ring for me. So I'm still working my way through that. I think I'm probably about halfway through it. Let's see, where am I? Without spoiling anything, hopefully, I'm in the section where you are helping certain survivors on the station attempt to seal the alien away. And there's a black guy. Hopefully that won't spoil anything for any of you. But that's the part of the game that I'm on right now. And the game has just it's just skyrocketed up in quality since the alien has started hunting you. So I've been really enjoying that game. And interestingly enough, both of the games that have been on the list so far, I pretty much have Sterling to thank for, in Dark Souls 2's case, playing it. Because before I saw him play it, I didn't have too much interest. There was a streamer I watch a lot, Northern Lion. who plays a lot of it, and I was kind of interested then. Then I watched Sterling play it, and I was just like, you know what? I should try this game. This looks fun. So I did. And lo and behold, it was one of the best games I played in 2014. So thank you to Sterling for that. And in the case of Alien Isolation, he actually got me that for my birthday. So I will definitely give him thanks on that as well. As for my favorite game of 2014, that was pretty easy for me to decide. Admittedly, again, like I said, I didn't play too much, as you might be able to tell from the games that are showing up here. Although I don't believe these are all that much of a surprise. But the game that I enjoyed the most this year has to be, without a doubt, Shovel Knight. For those of you unfamiliar with Shovel Knight, which, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I don't know how that could happen, because that was basically the second game I started to play on here. But Shovel Knight is an 8-bit style action platformer in the vein of the Mega Mans, the Castlevanias, and even the Super Marios of the Nintendo generation. And it manages to capture the essence of those games while still kind of being its own thing, which was very cool. There's also several other points of inspiration for it, like, for instance, one of the major combat mechanics you could definitely say very much draws from DuckTales. But I think one of the things I enjoyed about this game so much is that, just going back into my own personal history as a gamer for a moment, I didn't really get into games until the Super NES generation. Those were not the first games I ever played, because the first games I ever played were on the Intellivision, which my grandfather owned an Intellivision, and I played several of the games over at his house, and I think we had our own at some point. But those are the first games I played, but the games that really solidified my identity as someone who plays games for fun and plays them a lot was the Super NES. So the first platformer I really experienced was Super Mario World. As a kid, I never played Mega Man. I never played Castlevania. I didn't get to any of those until very late in the game. I believe the first time I played a Mega Man game was probably in college. So this was a very unique experience for me, kind of experiencing that when it was still new, instead of, when it's kind of old hat for everybody else, but I'm experiencing it for the first time. This one I got to experience with everybody else. Brand new, right when it came out. So between just how it engendered itself to me in that way, and just the amazing quality of the game top to bottom, outstanding soundtrack, outstanding level design, outstanding mechanics, outstanding character design. Pretty much every one of the knights is, if not really cool, because there are many that are, it's at least memorable in its own way. And it was challenging, but it wasn't challenging for a lot of the reasons that those Nintendo games were challenging. Now, admittedly, I'm not bashing on them, but the phrase Nintendo hard does exist for a reason, because a lot of the reasons that those games ended up being as difficult as they were was as a result of the general difficulty. Sorry about that. Was as a result of just the general difficulty of the mechanics, of the hardware they had to work with at the time. They had to work on password systems. A lot of those games, particularly ones that had their start in the arcade, were based on continue systems, which is just, anymore, maybe I'm alone in this, but I think anymore we as gamers are so used to having the punishment for failure in a video game be much lighter, or at least something that's easier to recover from, that we can't handle continue systems anymore. Like, you know, I know I personally, if I was dealing with a game that gave me 3 continues, and if I lost those I had to restart, couldn't play it. I would have to do save states. There's no other way I could get through that game. Shovel Knight, of course, doesn't have any of that. It has an autosave system, which is a very modern concept. It uses a few new tricks that you couldn't really do on those systems back then in its graphical engine. So there is that, you know, which in certain cases does help to make the game a lot prettier. And I would say that it's challenging when you compare it to games of the modern era, but it's probably a little easier than all of those others, partly for the reasons that I've explained, but partly because I think they got the difficulty just right, because it is challenging, but I was never, well, admittedly it's been a while since I played it, but I don't believe I was ever so frustrated with the game that I just straight up wanted to quit. There were parts where I was challenged and I got a little frustrated, but it managed itself very well in that regard. So, just in terms of everything that game was about, that has to be my favorite game of 2014. Other games that I should mention that, if I were to put together a longer list, might find their way on there, but didn't make it into the top 3, or for various other reasons, you know, didn't really get the consideration that I might give them otherwise. One of these is The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, which I got for Christmas from my sister. And unfortunately, I've watched, probably at this point, hundreds of hours of it being played. But I haven't actually played it myself, because I just haven't had the time, to be completely honest. So I'm looking at playing some of that. I might actually play that as part of the channel. Who knows? That's kind of done, especially considering the people that I watch. So I don't know if that's going to be a thing I'm going to end up doing. But I'm definitely going to look to play that. And once I've, you know, actually played it myself instead of just watching someone else play it, I think that could definitely be one of my best games of this year, because from what I've seen, it definitely looks like it's good. And ironically enough, one of the games that I did play the most this year was the original Binding of Isaac, which I never really earnestly got into until they made it 73 cents on Steam this year. So I had to snatch that up, and I played it, and like, I was playing that more than I was playing a lot of the more recent modern games that I had at the time, because I'd also bought a bunch of other stuff during one of the various Steam sales. I bought a lot of games this year, but I haven't played a lot of them, so I need to get on that. But that was the game that I was playing almost constantly, because it's good. It's real good. Another one in sort of a similar vein was I played FTL Advanced Edition. And that was my first time playing that too, and that's pretty good. I played that for quite a while too. So there's a lot of games kind of like that. That in the case of FTL Advanced Edition, it's kind of an expansion, so I don't know if I'd really put it on the list. I could probably justify getting it in there though, and if I played Rebirth, I think I would definitely put that on there too. Because if it's anything like Binding of Isaac, and everything indicates to me that it is, I'm definitely going to enjoy it. Just, you know, haven't gotten the chance to play it yet. Another game that I would definitely have to give a mention to, and this one's going to seem a little strange, I will admit, is MLB 14 The Show. For those of you unfamiliar, it is a baseball game. And your initial reaction to hearing that might be, because I used to have this reaction a lot, is, ugh, sports games, gross. But to be completely honest, this is a pretty fantastic sports game. Um, it has this mode in it called Road to the Show, where you basically play you do a create a player, and you try and get that player into the major leagues. And that is actually a lot of fun, because it's sort of almost like an RPG, which is, again, a little strange, but that's how it is. And I had a lot of fun with that. That's the mode I play all the time. I have, oh god, let's see. I believe I have like 3 guys who I consistently play. I have a starting pitcher. I have a first baseman or a first baseman / designated hitter, and then I have a shortstop. And I play them pretty much all the time. The one thing that I don't really like about that mode is that the outfield is very difficult to get a handle on. Infield I pretty much got figured out. The controls are a little different than when you're playing normally, but I did manage to get it all pieced out, and now I pretty much know how to play the infield. So I've got that down. But the outfield, I have not been able to get a handle on the outfield, because what happens is, and I guess this is very realistic, and that's another thing I will give the mode, is it does do a good job of being realistic in terms of how you play. But the problem with the outfield that I have is that you have to press like 5 buttons at once to effectively track a fly ball. And I haven't managed at all to get to the point where I can successfully pull off like a diving catch. But in terms of fly balls, you have to run, and you have to run in the right direction, which you can only really establish by looking at the ground, and kind of they have like an indicator letting you know where the fly ball's going. But normally, if you're tracking a fly ball, I think what you would want to do is watch the fly ball. You'd like want to watch up, and as you're running, like this is how they actually do it. Is they watch the ball as they're running, kind of track it as they go, and in terms of everything else around them, they'll like glance down real quickly, then look up, figure out where the ball is again, and they just glance down real quickly to figure out, am I about to run into the wall? And I haven't been able to get the handle on that in Road to the Show, which has made the outfield very difficult for me, and that's why I pretty much stick to the infielders and the pitchers. Pitching is almost too easy. That might be a symptom of the difficulty that I'm on, but the pitcher that I have he's basically a 100-plus fireballer with a pretty nasty curve to complement it. So he's basically Yordano Ventura, which makes sense because one of the other things I got for Christmas is right over there. If you see, you'll probably see a little sliver of white that I'm pointing to. Right over there is my Yordano Ventura Royals jersey, because that man is the future. So I basically made Yordano Ventura in a video game. And it was kind of funny, and I know nobody's going to get this, so I don't know why I'm telling the story, but as a fan of the Arizona Diamondbacks, I was very amused because my pitcher happened to get drafted by the Arizona Diamondbacks. And he had just torn his way through the minors to get promoted to the major league team. And then they traded him for Gerald Laird, who is a lifetime backup catcher. They traded him to the Indians, where he is leading the rotation now, and if he didn't win Rookie of the Year, I believe he was like 2nd or 3rd in the voting. So it's exactly what the problem was with the Diamondbacks before they changed ownership. They just, I don't know why I'm explaining this, because nope, none of you guys watch baseball. You're not going to get it. Well, there might be a few of you that get it, but I just thought that was rather amusing that even in the game, the Diamondbacks have no idea how to handle young pitching. None. But anyway, that would have been another of the games that I probably would have put on the list if I'd made it longer. Honestly, I just didn't play enough games this year to really justify making a list much longer than a top 3. Because even if I just made like a top 5, that's every game that was new that I played in 2014. So I just figured a top 3 list, and now the real fun of it is having you guys tell me what your favorite games were in 2014. And a wonderful consequence of this is that we can all look at each other's favorites and see games that we should probably play. Which, really, that's my motive here, is I want to know, what did I miss in 2014? And hopefully I told you something that you missed in 2014, and maybe you can go hunt it down and give it a try, because I would heartily recommend any of the games that I've mentioned in talking about them here. So hopefully that helps you out. But anyway, that's about as much as I wanted to talk about in terms of the games. There was one other thing I wanted to ask, and this is more of kind of a request. I'm already doing the reviews of Dungeons and Dragons products on here. It has been suggested to me that I take a look at just doing like vlog movie reviews, because I already do a lot of posting of that on my Facebook page, my personal one, which if you're wondering I actually have a Facebook page for the channel, which is where a lot of announcements go. If you're wondering what that is, I do put it in the bottom of I do put it in the description of every video. So if you're not liking that page already, I would ask that you please do, because really it's something that helps you more than anything else, because oftentimes that will be the main place that I make announcements. I do have a Twitter as well, so you can follow that as well, but the Facebook page is definitely probably the place that you want to be following the most if you're just wondering what's going on. That's probably where posts about information are going to show up, so that's definitely a good thing to like if you're not liking it already. Plug over. Hope I didn't bother you too much with that. But it has been suggested to me to maybe look at doing vlog movie reviews on here of movies that I watch. Would you be interested in watching something like that? What I would mostly do is I would probably follow the same format that I've been doing on Facebook. Essentially what I do is I will have a general... I have a very general rating system where I just kind of... I believe I use 5 different smileys. And those smileys, rather than sort of being a scaled number system, they're just sort of a general feeling of my overall reactions to the film. Like, for instance, if I do a really wide, like, smile, like that, that means I freaking loved it, and it's one of the best movies I've seen of the year, if not all my life. So that's a glowing recommendation. That's like a wow. So that's for movies that wowed me. Then after that you have the smiley face, which is just, I liked it. It was good. And then after that you have the just stone face. Just a line. And that generally means that it was like, that's okay. Okay, meh, something like that. And then you get into the face, which is like a... oh my god, that looks terrible. Ugh, it looks like I had a stroke. But you kind of have like the sideways face. Kind of like that. I think that's probably as close as I'm going to get making with my actual face. And that's... I would say that's probably more like meh, because the previous one is like, it's okay. Wasn't good, wasn't especially good, wasn't especially bad. Kind of in the middle. And then meh is kind of more towards the bad side. It's like, meh. Didn't really inspire much emotion of anything in me. and I wasn't all that entertained. You know, okay, you're at least somewhat entertained, but meh, you're just like, ugh. I'm not sure if I wasted my money or not. And then finally, you have The Frown, which doesn't come out very often, but and The Frown, of course, means I freaking hated it. Means, oh my god, I want them to give my money back. What the hell does Hollywood think they're doing, peddling this bullshit on us? That's The Frown. So, I might start doing something like that, and that's the first part of it, and then I have like a little TLDR section, which gives you a summary of what I thought, and then I go into my full thoughts. So if I were to do movie reviews in vlogs on this channel, that's the system I would follow. Would you be interested in watching something like that? That's what I'm wondering. So, to review, I will be going back to doing videos, and I'm also going to bring back the Dungeons & Dragons products reviews with a review of... I actually got it right here. The Dungeon Master's Guide. I will also be going back to doing Let's Plays, so Earthbound, Doom 3, Homeworld, even Civilization Beyond Earth, which I did not finish my game of that. Those will all be coming back, but I will be doing them at a slower pace so that I can avoid having the quality of commentary on each of them dip. Since that was the reason I stopped that's the main reason I stopped in the first place, was because I felt like my commentary was really starting to go downhill, and I felt like that was a symptom of burnout. So I decided to just, stop. But those will all be coming back. I'm going to look at starting to stream on Twitch as far as the schedule for that. I don't know exactly what that's going to be yet, but I will probably use some portion of the time that will no longer be going towards making sure that I make enough videos to cover the whole week. Some of that time is probably going to be dedicated over to doing Twitch streaming. Once I have a more definitive schedule, I will either make an announcement video, post something on Facebook, or maybe do both in terms of when to expect that to show up. And you can, check it out on Twitch. I will also try and put up a link to what my Twitch channel is, although you probably won't see anything broadcasted on it for the most part. You might see like a test broadcast on there, because I will be doing at least one of those to kind of get everything figured out as far as how I want my setup to go. But when it actually comes time to do the straight up stream itself, I will make sure that I have an announcement out as far as what time that's going to be, so that if you are interested in attending, you will be able to. And in addition, since we are talking about that, if you would be interested in something like that, if you would be interested in watching me stream, certainly feel free to go ahead and leave a comment giving me an idea of what times you would best be able to watch something like that. And I will certainly take those into consideration when I am figuring out when exactly I want to stream. Of course, the first thing is making it fit into my schedule, because if I can't make it, obviously there's no stream. But I will certainly consider, what people... I will certainly have as a secondary consideration to that obvious first one, the availability of people who might want to watch, because why am I doing it if nobody's viewing after all, right? So that's point number 2. Point number 3 is that I just went over my 3 favorite games from 2014, which to review are number 3, Dark Souls 2, number 2, Alien Isolation, and number 1, Shovel Knight. And then honorable mentions: Binding of Isaac Rebirth, MLB The Show 14, and something I'm forgetting. FTL Advanced Edition, was that the other one? I don't remember. I'm hoping that I got all of them, but I have this feeling that I didn't. So I'm getting old. What can I say? 30's coming up real fast, and my memory is running the other way. But anyway, that's pretty much it as far as stuff that I have to cover. So hopefully you're all looking forward to having some stuff to watch again, and I know I'm certainly looking forward to getting back into that stuff and starting to make stuff again. So next time I see you, it will be with a new video coming back. Alright guys, I will talk to you later.